Right, so with this subtraction here, okay, again we're going to line up the decimal points. Okay, so we've got 22.2, take away 2.22. Okay, so it's not aligned to the right. Just lining up the decimal points, and we're going to have two lines to so we can have our solution separated, taken away. Now we need to start on the right hand side, and we might feel a bit uncomfortable with nothing being there, so we put a 0 here. Okay, and we start with the right here and we do 0 take away 2. Okay, and of course you can't do that, can you? Because we end up with a negative solution, and as I said before, we don't want to have a negative solution here with column subtraction. So we need to think about borrowing, okay, so that this then is no longer a 0. So if I go to the next column, there's a 2 there, so if I borrow from that 2, that will become a 1, okay, and the one I borrow I'll put next to that 0, so I end up here then with 10. 10 take away 2 is 8. And then we've got then in the next column 1 take away 2, okay? So we've got 1 left there, 1 take away 2. Now again, we can't do 1 take away 2, can't we? Because we end up with a negative solution. So we need to go to the next column along here and borrow from here. So we borrow from here, that becomes a 1 if I borrow from there. And the 1 I borrowed, I put there next to this 1. So we end up having 11. 11 take away 2 is 9, okay? Decimal points lined up. 1 then take away 2, okay, so we go then here, 1 take away 2. Now again, as we've seen previously, we can't do 1 take away 2, so we borrow from that 2, becomes a 1, okay, and the 1 I borrow I put next to that 1 there, so I end up with 11. 11 take away 2 is 9, and then to finish off then I've got my 1 here. Now there's nothing here, so 1 take away nothing, 1 take away 0 is just 1, so my answer will be 19.98. In the next one, right, we've taken away, we've got pound signs here. I wouldn't worry too much about the pound signs, okay? I would just concentrate on taking away the numbers, and we can put the pound sign in our solution. So, £10.57, take away £7.99. But quite simply, I'm going to line up the decimal points. Quite nice this time around, because it's money. They both have 2 decimal places, okay? And we're going to take away, so 7 take away 9. Now of course we can't do 7 take away 9 because 7 is smaller than 9, so we borrow from this 5, it becomes a 4, okay, and the one we borrow we write here. So now I've got 17, and 17 take away 9 becomes 8, okay, and then we go into the next column. 4 take away 5, that's 4 take away 9. Now 4 is smaller than 9, so we end up with a negative, so again we can't do that, right? So we need to borrow from the next column, okay, to make this a bit bigger. Now, to borrow from here is impossible, isn't it? Because this is 0, okay, and you can't borrow anything when there's nothing there, okay? So we have to do an extra step. We go to the next column along, which is a 1, right? And we borrow from that column there. So that now becomes, if we borrow 1 from there, that becomes a 0, okay? And the 1 that we borrow there is so important that you only move it 1 place along, right? You shouldn't put it there. Don't skip steps. Okay, if you're borrowing from 1 from here, you need to put it here. Okay, so now I've got 10 here. If you notice, because I've got 10 here, I can borrow from this 10 to make a 9, and the 1 I borrow I can write next then to that 4 to make 14. 14 take away 9 is 5. Line up the decimal points. 9 take away 7 is 2, so we get 2.58. In terms of our solution, then we can say £2.58. Okay.